By on bonny banks, by on bonny braes,
What's that?
the sun shines bright on Love Lomond
Get off!
for me and my true love.
Oh my God, that's desperate.
Again.
Jesus, sling your hook, will you?
Bonny
Here.
Sling your hook, you mad thing, you.
So you stink!
Like nails on a chalkboard.
Ugh, I'd rather eat Pearson's stew.
Oh, there you go. Very nice. Get off the stage.
Welcome, everyone, one and all, to another episode of Around the Campfire, where we are joined by our good friend and number one fan.
Woohoo! Homer Simpson. Woohoo!
Damn it.
Holy crap.
I thought you said we had Mick. We got Homer instead? Damn it.
Homer and Peter Griffin all at once.
Sorry, I thought I sent the right. I thought I sent the message. Sorry, guys. I guess we'll have to roll with it.
How are you guys doing?
Oh, sleepy.
Sleepy.
Started today, so and I
Everyone,
have work, so
Yeah, just my standard routine, which is sweet FA these days. So, but yeah, just moseying along, doing basically what I'm told, which is basically keeping away from people the best I can and only go out when I need to.
Yeah, it sucks, doesn't it?
I prefer it that way, really. So I'm a bit of a hermit. So
This is after getting very old very fast. I remember the last time we spoke there months ago, I was hopeful and thinking like that by Christmas, by the holidays, that all this would be behind us. But yeah, I'm not liking this at all. Not liking all that's going on. So
yeah,
tough, guys.
it is. It's
really
pretty tough so far, especially for just everyone in general. Just because there's no, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like there's any end in sight. And then there's new variants that are coming out.
That's the scary part. It really is. Like I mean, all of it's scary. Don't get me wrong, but finding out that and with me working in hospitality, it makes it really scary. But finding out that the states surrounding you have found that new variant, and they've been coming to your state, it's like, could you not?
Yeah. No, it's tough, man. It's hard to kind of get the head around at the moment. It's really hard for me to get the head around that we haven't actually done enough to get the vaccines out, and people are still kind of complaining about wearing masks and stuff like that. I just don't understand it. I mean, even for us here in New York, with theater and stuff, the theaters are shut down.
Mm-hmm.
The bars and restaurants are pretty much shut down. You can have a beer on the sidewalk, but I mean, it's about to snow tonight. Who wants to do that? And all these people are out of work. It doesn't look like they're getting back to work anytime soon, and we just don't seem to have the will to kind of sort it out. It kind of sucks, really, And
the funny thing is, when all of this started, I remember being so angry that my industry was considered essential. I mean, it's awesome to be recognized, but it's like, oh, I don't want to be essential. I'm basically front line at this point. Yeah. But the longer this goes on, I'm just like, damn, I'm really thankful that I still have a job.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not easy for a lot of people at the moment, but I think what you guys have done with, your podcast and everything else and spreading a little bit of joy really helps a lot of people. So thank you guys for doing some really essential work, because I know there's the practical side of things where there's essential workers, but I mean, everyone who's out there pumping out their podcasts and putting their art and their creativity out into the world is kind of offering some bit of emotional triage for people too, I believe. So thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Because I know that in the circumstances that we're in at the moment, I know it's across the board, doesn't matter who you are or where you're from, the COVID has affected people's mental health in a big way, because obviously everybody's become really isolated, and if people are already struggling, that in itself is already isolating enough without being told that you're maybe one communication, you can't see them, or you've got that, you don't have that contact at the moment. Yeah, and it's, I mean, I think everybody's got their own struggles, but obviously some have got, you know, equally as tough struggles as it is, if that makes sense.
Of course, absolutely, yeah. How is it over there? Are you guys all locked down still in Scotland?
Yeah, we started to go back again on Boxing Day, which is the day after Christmas in the UK. But because the area that I'm in, the region that I'm in, we're kind of like sandwiched between Dundee and Edinburgh. So they're like two big major cities, because a lot of the area that I'm in is commuter.
Right.
And obviously you've got St Andrews, you've got the university there, so that in itself's get a lot of tourists going there as well. But with everything that's been over the last year or so, tourism is just ground to a halt. And my friend, she was working in the tourism industry in Edinburgh, and everything just, it became a ghost town. She says it was the eeriest thing, given how lively and vibrant Edinburgh usually is.
Yeah.
Because not only did tourism ground to halt, but they had to halt the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, which is one of the big draws of the year in Edinburgh. And even more so, like later on in the year when you've got the New Year's party, they had to cancel that too. And you know, and then seeing footage coming in from Edinburgh being all quiet, it's creepy. Really,
that's how it
really
is.
Creepy.
Yeah, that's how it is here. It's like that here in New York. It's just really strange. People are making the most of it, and they're doing their best. But I mean, theater brings in like billions to the economy there. Like, it's a massive, massive industry, and nobody's even thinking about it. And added to that, the amount of people who work in theater, you know, who also work in bars and restaurants, and now in their wisdom, they decided to completely shut down all the bars and restaurants for indoor dining. You know, and they're not even they don't even seem to recognize that this has been spread in many, many other ways. Like they had a thing here where it was 25% capacity indoor. And if you walked into a restaurant or a bar, you know, they would take your temperature, they would record your name and your email address and make sure that they reached out to you for contact tracing. Whereas, you know, you can walk into Macy's in Herald Square with thousands of other people right now. There's no regulations. There's nobody stopping you. Yeah, you have to wear a mask, which is great. But I mean, like you're walking around Macy's with people spraying perfume and you're kind of going, I mean, that doesn't seem like it's the safest thing to be doing either right now.
No.
Yet, you know, they'll hit bars and restaurants because they can, you know. So it's very arbitrary, and it's hurting a lot of people, especially in this industry where, you know, people are working in entertainment. It's hurting a lot of people in that business. You're pretty sure that if all video games shut down tomorrow, if all the online video games out there all of a sudden close down for whatever reason, people will be up in arms about it. So, you know,
because I know in Edinburgh there was, obviously you've got the Playhouse, you've got several theaters in Edinburgh, and from what I can remember, at least for last year, quite a few touring productions were meant to be coming through. I think the Book of Mormon was meant to be coming through, and I'm glad that I didn't get tickets for that, because that would have been a shame to miss that. And I think The Lion King was meant to be doing a 3-month stay in Edinburgh, when it's usually down in London. So, and that's a fantastic show if you've never seen it. But yeah, and it's just so sad to see everything just essentially it's dying. Everything's just dying.
The one thing I keep reiterating this about, like, supporting your local art centres and theatres, is we're not just talking about actors here. We're not just talking about, you know, people that you think of. You're talking about livelihoods for people behind the scenes, and also all the businesses around it. Like for every theatre that's shut down right now, there's tons and tons of restaurants that rely on that. There's tons and tons of people working in hotels and the tourist industry and everything else. So like, the longer we allow this to go on, like the longer we're in this, the longer that all those people are suffering, like, you know, so it's.
Well, and then like, if you think about it, like New Orleans, for example, like their entire industry is bars, restaurants, and tourism. You take that out and like, I remember seeing like when everything finally locked down, because obviously Louisiana took its dear sweet time. Mardi Gras was coming up, so, you know, that was important. But when they showed Bourbon Street just completely empty and like all the businesses were shut down, it was eerie. And because like New Orleans is always busy with life, always, and it's always a party down there. So to see the party kind of stop was very eerie. And what worries me is we are once again coming up on Mardi Gras season. And it's like, are we going to have a rerun of what we did last year and let Mardi Gras go on and then see our numbers spike again?
Yeah. The only way I can relate, the one way I'll relate to that is this all happened last year here in New York, right around St. Patrick's Day, and everything got shut down. I mean, if you've ever been to New York on St. Patrick's Day, it's there's lots of stuff goes on in New York, but when you're here on St. Patty's Day, you know that it's going on, and for it to be shut down like that, it was just so sad. And yeah, we're 12 months, and it looks like it's not going to happen again. So. And again, that means jobs, that means work for people as well. And yeah, we really do. We need to just figure this out. We need to just do the right thing, and nobody seems to know exactly what the right thing is, which is more frustrating than anything else,
It just makes you think what we did as humans centuries ago during other epidemics and pandemics. You just think, how would they have dealt with it? I mean, obviously, centuries ago, they would have believed in quack medicine, like miasmas were bad air was causing it. But
well, there are countries in the world
we've never learned. We haven't learned yet, and it's
in fairness,
frustrating.
It is very frustrating. But in fairness, there are places in the world who have learned and who have come up with cohesive plans. Like apparently, New Zealand has done a really great job, and I know New Zealand is a large country with a small population, but I mean. There's countries that deal with this sort of thing every couple of years. Like there's some parts of the world, where they're always dealing with some sort of an outbreak of something, and they figure it out.
Well, and then like I actually had a discussion with a friend of mine, and he was like, "Well, how was America supposed to prepare? We've never seen anything like this." I said, "Neither has New Zealand, but New Zealand seemed to get it right."
Yeah. And by the way, weren't they fucking making movies about this for the last 20 years?
Right? Like we should have had
every year or two. There's a movie about some mad virus that's out there that's killing people and eating their brains and turning into zombies. I mean, have we fucking learned anything from all the Matt Damon films? I mean,
that's where we went wrong. This didn't create any zombies. I guarantee you, if this had created zombies, we would have had a plan in place like no time. And I have a tactical shovel, so we're good.
Now, if zombies ever invaded my neck of the woods, it'd be like Shaun of the Dead. So. We don't have access to firearms, so garden tools. So
get a tactical shovel.
I've got my snow shovel, so that will have to do. So
chase him with a rake or something.
Yeah.
What weapon was it you said in the last episode? I can't remember which episode it was, but it was a dumbbell you had.
Yeah, somebody chatted to my door at 11 at night, and it's pitch dark, and I kicking through the letterbox, going, "Who's there? Who's there?" Like wielding a dumbbell in my hand, thinking if for whatever reason I'm gonna have to bash somebody's head in with this thing. I have no idea.
I'm not even gonna point out the hand gesture you just made while you were talking about an invisible.
Yeah. I walk right into things like that.
You really did. Well,
a movie that came out, I don't know, I want to say 2015 or 2012, where it was Nicole Kidman or somebody had gotten sick with what it was H1N1, but it was basically just it showed the progression of where she got it and then how it spread. And you would think that from those type of movies that people would be like, oh yeah, I understand, contact tracing, contact. Yeah,
that was called Contact, was it?
I think so. It may have been.
I watched it recently, actually. Yeah, I know I watched it recently, and I remember I saw it in the movies as well, I think. And that they were pretty much calling all this out. I mean, they were on the ball about where it came from and everything else.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It just feels unfortunate just with everything that's going on, because then it's we know or should know that there's like an issue, there's problems and all of that, but it's like, we'll be okay.
Honestly, and this is going to sound really heartless, I think. It's I think a lot of it
Contagion.
has to do I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that like when everything first started happening, there was a whole bunch of panic. And while we could see numbers rising and we saw a bunch of people that unfortunately lost their lives, a lot of people didn't see it personally. And so it was like you had the panic response, but nothing to back it up, nothing to make it real. And because like we know like the media sensationalizes things, and we know this from past experiences with things. And so it's like, okay, look, here's this gargantuan number, but it's not affecting me here. And so after a while, people just got exhausted from the panic response originally and nothing to kind of back it up. And I think people just they had to direct that panic energy somewhere, and unfortunately it's turned into anger and more dividing of people. Because I remember when all this first started, I saw a friend of mine post that said, these numbers are so high, but can you honestly say you know someone that has it or had it or died from it or anything? And it's like, no, not yet, thankfully, but we could at any moment.
I can tell you straight, when this all kicked off and they started closing things down, I saw pretty quickly outside my front door, like I lived a block away from Lennox Hill Hospital on the Upper East Side at the time. They had refrigeration trucks out the back of it, and they had tents in Central Park. So, you know, it was very much in your face, like for us here in New York. And the streets were quiet, the streets were empty, like what you're describing there, Nicola. Like the streets were empty.
Yeah.
So, and again, yeah, it's sad now that we all, I think we've all heard or know someone. I got some bad news last week about some former neighbours of mine back in Ireland. Unfortunately, yeah, I came to their door and with not very nice consequences. But again, I think the greater thing is also, like, I think we've all had to kind of reflect an awful lot on just the way we were kind of living our lives in the past. And I think this has actually given a lot of people an opportunity now to actually kind of maybe move forward in a much more, positive kind of vein, hopefully. It's sad that we have to kind of go through these things, but, it's...
Well, they say, necessity breeds change.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of been the way it's been in every industry. Every single industry, no matter be it retail all the way up to theater, has had to change the way they do things, how they approach things. How, like, I remember when I interviewed for my new job, normally you would end an interview with a strong handshake, you got the job. And this time we were distanced, and it was, all right, well, I guess I'll start tomorrow. And it was just a very odd thing. So the way we're having to interact with people as a whole has changed drastically. And a lot of people that are usually very traditional and very stuck in their ways are having to rewire and relearn so much. And honestly, I think at this point, the world is just in a state of exhaustion, and we all just want it to be over. But there's so many people that aren't willing to give up that fight for what they believe is right. And that's costing people their livelihoods, their lives.
Their lives. Costing their lives.
Can I just point out, I love the fact that when we were gearing up for this interview, we were all laughing and making farts, immediately turned to depression.
I think my general impression on life, me being a bit of a cynic that I am, life likes to throw its challenges, and life is very, very unpredictable. And if you're basically hit by the ball that's coming your way, a lot of the time you have to adapt with the aftermath or what's coming in your direction. So
it's very Buddhist of you. I mean, isn't that the Buddhists all believe that, life is shit? Life is suffering. Life is suffering, and you just have to deal with it. That's it.
funnily enough, one of the times I was speaking to my bereavement counselor, she said that you've got a very apt way with words and describing things, and I'm thinking, I don't know where I get that from.
You word good.
Yeah. And then when I need to, everything just goes out the brain and out the ass. So,
Well,
and even that phrasing didn't make sense, but
I was going to say, Mick's got that.
You
part
get the
covered. We're
drift.
fine.
you get the drift.
Got the drift, all right. But thanks for having me back on, guys. I really appreciate it. It's I
you're
love what
welcome.
you've been doing these last few months, and I got a great kick out of seeing that this was season 2.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a real cool kind of feather in your cap. I think that's really great.
Yeah, look what you did, Mick. Look what you did.
I was I was just responding to stuff on Twitter. That's all,
Yeah, we're
It's
like,
great. No, I'm delighted.
we're
Delighted
like,
for you guys.
hey, let's start this one thing, and we're just going to throw it out for shits and gigs. And Mick's like, yeah, bring me on. Fuck. Okay, we got to come up with an idea real fast.
But I'm terrible. I'm terrible at motivating myself to actually do stuff. So I always appreciate collaboration. I appreciate people who are willing to put their stuff out there, and if I can kind of jump on it somehow, then I will.
Well, there is that feet thing we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, no. I'll tell everyone. Yeah, I've been So I had somebody reach out to me recently to send me pictures of my feet to them, and I'm like, that's a bit strange. Yeah, I've never had anybody reach out to take a picture of my feet, but yeah, it's funny what you see online with all this social media, and stuff. It's kind of mad. It's kind of nutty.
What I want to know is, how did you handle that request? Like, did you just ignore it?
I just said, sure, I'll think about it, and thank you for reaching out, and have a great day. Outlaws for life. Outlaws for life. It's great. It works for everything.
It's a Band-Aid.
And if I get, and that's something else we were talking about recently as well. People seem to think that because you're in a video game, that what's coming out in the future and what's happening with all this stuff. I've had so many people ask me. I posted something a few weeks ago. Like, people ask me about DLCs all the time, and every time I hear the word DLC, I think of the band TLC. And it's mad. Like, people are like, is there going to be a DLC? And I'm like, what the fuck is a DLC? I don't know.
I mean, how many times have you been asked when GTA 6 is coming out?
GTA 6. I think GTA 6. I think when I hear GTA 6, I think of a K-pop band, like some Korean boy band or something. I think that's what it is. I was like, even the other night I posted something on Twitter, like, I'm going to start my own boy band from Dublin called GTA 6. That's you're asking the wrong person. Like, do you know I love Sean so much, man. Sean is awesome. He's so cool. Why did he have to die? I'm like, because it's a story. Well,
and then and this is what kills me. It's like, no, sorry, didn't mean to offend with the killing remark there. Sorry, Sean.
That's all right.
But even if you did know of upcoming DLC, or you were doing DLC, it's not like you could just openly talk about it.
Just talk about it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No. It's like a wink, wink. Like, oh yes, I know there's something coming out. No, I don't. They don't tell us. Actually, even when we were working on it, I wouldn't know what my script was until like maybe the night before.
Yeah.
Which was a great way. It was a fun way to work. But yeah, they keep their cards very close to their chests, which, when you see, I mean, the release date of the game was pushed back so many times because they wanted to really make an awesome, great product. And whether people enjoy Red Dead Redemption 2 or not, it's the one thing you have to say is, wow, like they did the right thing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be into video games like you guys probably, but I mean, I do enjoy them. I stayed up last night playing ice hockey on my computer for a while. But I mean, just judging from Cyberpunk recently that came out, that left a bit of a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, right? Because it was just kind of so glitchy on the PS4 and on the Xbox One. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it hit a bit of a snag on launch date, given the bugs and, like you said, the glitches. And one thing that gamers are, they're very vocal, especially when things don't go in their preferred direction, whether it be Cyberpunk's performance or prime example, the storyline in The Last of Us 2, that opened up a whole can of worms.
I saw some actors actually getting hate.
Yeah.
For her. Now, what was the issue?
Laura Bailey, the actress that played Abby, she's amazing.
Job. Yeah,
she is amazing. She won the performer at the Game Awards for the role, and I cheered because she was fantastic in it. But she was getting a lot of really sexist.
She was getting death threats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Is it because, I mean, this is, again, I'm being very ignorant here, so I don't even know if I'm asking the right questions, but is misogyny like a huge issue in the gaming community?
It can be, yeah.
Yeah.
I had written, since I write stuff for like the gamers like web page and things like that, all of my research goes into just figuring out why things are the way they are. And so I've come across like a lot of it is like, for a good number of years, the gaming industry has been mostly just male. That's it. It's mostly male dominated. Majority of like the studios are male, higher ups are male, you know. Games are generally geared toward men. And you can tell, you know, you can tell from the way that they advertise. Maybe like if the action game has like a female lead, you can tell from the advertisement that they're not advertising for girls, they're advertising for men. And
yeah, because no girl's armor is gonna have boobs. I'm sorry.
well, in actuality, I mean, like full to kind of like a different tangent, full scale armor was only a thing for a short while, but most of the time they just wore like the breastplate, you know, just to protect their vital organs. But yeah, it's become like such a thing where for so many years men just think that, oh well, games are for us and these girly games are for girls. So that would be The Sims, phone games.
I remember you speaking in the very first podcast about like the Barbie. Wasn't there a Barbie video game? Where it was like where you had to ride horses and stuff, and it was like
yeah, there's a Barbie game that's like that, but for guys, it's like, oh, I don't want to play that. That's a girl game. But for girls, that's the only thing that we really had. And if we did play a game like Call of Duty or Halo or Hitman or any of the typical violent male games, they would kind of look at us like, do you really know games? Like, really know games, dude?
I'm gonna throw in a little story here. So a friend of mine, she got married to she married a man in the Air Force, and so they were at one of the weird military like luncheons or whatever. I don't remember the exact details exactly, but all of them were avid gamers, and they were standing around talking about Call of Duty, and my friend happened to play Call of Duty. And when she jumped into the conversation, they all kind of gave her a weird look, and then the conversation just died. Later on, she was doing some research because that was such an odd thing. And she was doing research and she saw someone, obviously male, had jumped in and said, if a girl tries to talk to you about Call of Duty, Halo, or like you said, any of the violent, typically male video games, it's because they want to fuck you. And so here she is just trying to participate in this innocent conversation, and now they've got.
I never knew that. That's so enlightening to know that. That's Jesus.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it was a shock to me too.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, so she's just trying to participate in this conversation about video games, and they're over here like, oh, she's trying to cheat on her husband with us.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
That says a lot more about those people than, anything else. That's just fucking stupid.
Yeah. I mean,
what about Lara? What about, I know now you probably get this all the time, but I'm off the top of my head, like Lara Croft. I know she's super sexualized and everything else, which is another thing that
she used to be. She used to be. They did a revamp.
Oh, really?
Her more, they've made her less sexualized. I mean, her bazookas have shrunk, to put a better word.
She doesn't need that armor, is what you're saying.
No.
Right.
I mean, more practical if she's scaling tombs and
That's true.
It better hurt her back. I will say it will hurt her back.
You just stole the joke straight out of my face hole, Nicola. That was not cool. I was literally gonna say when I first saw the model, like the original Lara Croft, all I could think is, man, I bet her back is killing her.
Yeah, she must. Yeah, fucking hell. Imagine trying to scale it. I'm not even gonna go there because it's just no. No, but it's just something that I find very interesting, and it's again just, I suppose, bringing it back to Red Dead. I think one thing that they did a great job with was just like the gang itself all together. I think they did a good job in terms of showcasing people from different places, men and women. I really enjoyed seeing the scenes with Mary Beth when she's going on her missions and things like that, and Karen being a badass, and Tilly, all these kind of female characters. Has that had any kind of impact on all this, do you think, amongst gamers?
I like to think so, because one thing that I value about Red Dead is the fact that it doesn't skirt around racial issues. It attacks them head on. And it's like, okay, so here's the thing, here's racism, and it's a thing. We're not going to skirt around it and pretend like it doesn't exist. And in the world we live in, it's kind of a breath of fresh air in a weird way, because it's like, we don't want to pretend like racism doesn't exist or that slavery didn't happen. We're not just going to skirt around the issue. I know I've said that a lot, and I'm really sorry I'm being repetitive, but they face it head on. Like you listen to the conversations with Lenny, and he says, obviously I'm not going to repeat it because I don't want to offend, but he talks about being in Rhodes and in that area, and what people would think of the members of the gang for hanging out with people like him, specifically Black people. And I love that. I love that they just took that and went, here's an issue, and we're going to let it be known that this is an issue right here. And I love that.
Well, there's something I have to say, obviously, the actors, we get a lot of attention, I suppose, because of the game, but I've always made sure, the writing of Red Dead Redemption 2, the people who wrote this, people who thought about it, the people who put it together, the anime, everyone who worked on this, the actors are great as well. The amount of work that went in, but
they're all right.
The amount of detail, though, even I did an interview with Penny O'Brien, who plays Molly O'Shea, and Roger Clark a few weeks ago for this theatre festival I've been doing lately. And it was kind of just the Irish angle on Red Dead Redemption 2. And Roger is from Ireland. He was born in the States, but he grew up in Sligo, and Penny's from Wexford. And even just discussing amongst ourselves, the little backstories of these characters, of Molly and of Sean, who are immigrants to this new world and are on this journey with Arthur and Dutch and everyone. There was one scene in particular where myself and Penny did, where she's kind of looking down her nose at me, and I'm calling her out as being a snooty, kind of a stuck up kind of those people exist. I've had these conversations with people. I come from a certain part of Ireland, and what it's like. It's the same here in America. You look down your nose at the person who lives down the street because you have a certain opinion about them. And the understanding that these writers and the people who actually kind of thought about Red Dead and came up with the stories, the backstories, that takes unbelievable amount of not just imagination, but it also takes a great understanding. It takes a great understanding of culture and of history and of where people came from. And they also, the other great thing that they did was they listened to a lot of the actors who were playing these parts, because we were playing them for so long. They kind of listened to what we had to say about things as well. You know, it's been documented quite a bit that everyone was pronouncing Colin O'Driscoll incorrectly all the time.
Yeah.
And myself and Roger had a little chat one day about it. And he's like, yeah, I know, man. These fucking guys they just call him. What the hell's a call him? I'm like, well, tell them. They listen to you. He says, I've been telling them for years. You tell them.
I did catch that interaction where Sean, more for better words than none, is giving Kieran a bollocking for mispronouncing the name.
That's right.
I
came
remember
in one day,
thinking,
they wrote that scene. I was so excited about that. I was like, oh my God, they actually listened to me. This is great. Yeah, Colin. Yeah.
Oh.
But that, I do think, just going back to like what we were saying about, you know, Cyberpunk maybe getting rushed out of it. I know people were disappointed when Red Dead kept getting pushed back, but I mean, the proof is in the product that people got, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think for me personally, I think that with Cyberpunk, it was just, I mean, they were literally working on it while we were all in quarantine. So of course they had to push it back. And then people were like, I want my game. I want it. You've been working on it for like since 2016. And I was just like, they've been working on Red Dead and the one before it for like 10 years. Like, can wait. And so, but I do feel like it does kind of come down to that where it's like, I don't know. I guess
it's a pity because it looks beautiful. I mean, any of the videos I've seen,
it's
absolutely look gorgeous.
I've put about 22 hours into it, and I genuinely enjoy it. Yes, there are moments that the game kind of breaks, and there are moments where the graphics aren't as up to par. But at the same time, and I've been speaking about this with a friend of mine, I also grew up in the era where you had to manually save and hope that the save didn't get corrupted because you would lose hours of progress. And if you happen to catch a bug or you happen to catch a glitch, that could put you back even further. And so it kind of goes in along the lines of the whole instant gratification. When we wanted to watch a TV show, we had to wait a week. And there was no knowing if a new show was, or if a show was going to be picked back up again until it became time to air it. And then suddenly it's like, aha, here's season such and such of this show. It was like, oh, cool. And it was like a year later. You know, when a movie came out in theaters, we had to wait almost a year for it to come out on VHS or DVD or whatever. And now it's like, oh, I want to go watch this movie. Click.
Yeah. Well, growing up in Ireland, it would come out about 5 months ahead in America. And you'd be sick shit of just watching trailers for like 5 months. Then it would come out in Ireland. It's kind of like, why? Yeah, you know, I was always a bit of a pain. That was always a major pain.
I would always look out for those TV guides at the grocery store when I would go with my mom just to see if there was a show that was like gonna get a second season, because the TV guys would usually have it first. They're like, now premiering at like 8 o'clock, and I'm like, damn, I'm asleep then. But yeah,
I always remember when Thriller came out, when the Michael Jackson video came out, Thriller.
Yeah.
My mom, my dad, and my sister were all in the living room, and I was addicted to a show called The Greatest American Hero, which was a terrible 80s TV show about this guy with superpowers, but he didn't really have superpowers. And I can always remember when, they were in the other room watching Thriller, and I was in the kitchen with a little black and white TV. This is how old I am. I'm going way back. You're talking about saving your computer games and being worried about getting a bug. I can remember a computer game on a cassette where you would plug it into your Commodore 64 tape recorder player, and you'd have to load it up between the computer and this tape recorder, and you'd have to watch as this like analog little dial ran to a certain number, and then you'd stop it, and then the game would be loaded on the screen. And in order to get back to the first level, you had to rewind the tape recorder and reload it up again, and it usually took about maybe 5 or 10 minutes. So how's that for instant gratification?
That's very instant. That's instant mashed potatoes right there.
There's a UK comedian called Peter Kay. He made a joke. I can't remember. It was a long while ago when I heard it, but he says that VHS players in the 80s, there were like huge, like monstrous. He says
And
they were that
expensive.
big. They were that big. You would have to take the front wall of your house down to get it in the house. He says that it came like the remote came on a connected cable or something like that. I mean, prime example.
I was the remote
like
control. I was the remote control in my house. I was the remote control. I was like, Michael, turn over the channel. And we only had 2 channels, so you know, it was an easy job.
I don't know if this aired in Ireland, but I know that it was a thing in the 80s in the UK. It was a show called Bullseye. It was a darts game.
I love Bullseye. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it too. My dad used to show it to me, and we used to just laugh at the prizes, or I did. And my dad would always say, "Hey, that was top brass back in 1986," and it's like, really?
Yeah, you've won yourself a gorgeous little carriage clock, like a radio alarm clock,
a little terrarium.
And he'd actually count out the money, like how much they'd won. He'd count out in singles. Now today you've won £25. I'm going to count out the £25 now while we go on commercial break. See you after the break. It was Jim Bowen, wasn't it?
Yeah. And Bully's
gold.
prize was a caravan.
Right. Or a speedboat.
Yeah.
A speedboat.
A speedboat, and they live in inner city Manchester.
Yeah. It's like somebody living in fucking Liverpool. I was like, all right, yeah, mate, yeah, sound. I just want a fucking speedboat on Bullseye. It'd be like somebody in Kansas winning a fucking yacht. Like, what? Like, what am I going to do with this?
I park it in the obviously.
I'm not sure if apparently my dad told me that my Uncle John went on it at one point. I don't know, but apparently I think he won like a freezer or a deep fat fryer or something, but
you can't beat a bit of bully.
That was before I was born, so
actually, I have to tell you something funny about that TV show. Back in the 80s, TV shows and movies, actually, they made video games out of them as well. Like a lot of video games back in the old days were like, I remember the first video game I ever got on my Commodore 64 was actually Platoon. So you had a lot of kids back in the 80s playing these video games, but never actually seen the movies. Like there was a bunch of like Sylvester Stallone movies that were turned into. I know Cobra was turned into a video game. And Bullseye, that TV show, there was a video game for the Commodore 64, Bullseye. Little darts video game, yeah.
I know that there was my mum had a copy. It wasn't so much a video game, it was one of those party games that you could play with the family, like with the TV remote, and it was always pulled out at New Year's with the family, and it was always men versus women. And and we always just laughed at the prizes, and more for one, the women would usually win. So, but it was like a holiday to Tenerife or something like that, and just awful, just absolute awful.
Well, a holiday to Tenerife doesn't sound like a bad prize. It's better than a fucking speedboat if you're living in Liverpool.
Well, I suppose.
I wouldn't mind 2 weeks in Tenerife right now, to be quite honest with you. I wouldn't mind getting on an airplane and going anywhere right now.
2 weeks anywhere.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
2 weeks in,
I was actually planning on, if I had the money for it, I was like, I'm going to go on to visit friends or something like that, or just go by myself on a trip to England and Ireland and Scotland and just see, because I used to go out of the country with my parents, and then it was like, okay, then this hit, and I was like, okay.
Well, I can get you a pretty good deal in a hotel.
Yeah, I mean, I could drive and I could stare at you from the parking lot and go check the city. I don't know what to do now.
Yeah, it was nice. It's I think that's one of the hardest things about this last year as well, is just coming to that realization that you can't go. I mean, I could go to Ireland if I wanted to, but obviously I don't want to right now because of spread and stuff. But that's the only reason I can go is because I'm an Irish citizen. But it's just the idea. I took it so for granted for years and years. I wish I'd kind of gone and visited family a bit more, I suppose, up until now. And that's certainly something that I'll be doing the minute we were allowed to travel again. I'll be booking flights and heading home and having pints with family and friends for sure.
Yeah. In Puerto Rico, they have a curfew. That's where my family's from. So they have a in Puerto Rico, and it's like you can't be out in the street after 7 o'clock. And so it's just it's gotten that much, and like they arrest people if they are, out in the street, or if they are just like, oh, joking about being sick, because they're like, okay, you can't joke about that.
Yeah.
I know.
But mostly fines and stuff, but that's about it. But they take it really seriously because most of the population is older generation.
I know
Yeah.
the area where I live, we had a curfew there for a while, but it didn't really make much sense for my area because basically what that meant was all the gas stations, all the convenience stores, all the restaurants, all the fast food restaurants would shut down at like 8 o'clock. So all that meant was everyone had to get out and about by like 7:30. And so it didn't do anything to curb the crowds. In fact, if nothing else, it made it worse because if you want to make something worse, just tell someone they can't do something.
They can't do it, exactly, yeah.
Mm. Like when they closed the pubs over here, I remember thinking, oh dear. Oh dear.
Everyone's having parties in their houses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, close the pubs, but there's there's just no consistency. That's what gets me.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I like going to the pub. I enjoy having a few pints. That's what I enjoy. But if you're not going to have rules for businesses across the board, then how can you enforce this? How can you actually kind of, cure this? You know what I mean? Can I ask a quick favor?
Yeah.
Mind if I just popped off for 30 seconds?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm going to just mute myself for about a minute. All right. I'll be back in about 30 seconds or a minute. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
All right. But I'm going to put you on mute because you're not going to want to hear this.
I'm leaving that in. Just so you know, I am leaving that in.
Well, we could this would be a segue point after this to since we're talking about instant gratification and then just kind of a lot of changes that COVID has done. We can talk about the Irish theater now.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a good segue. Once Mick comes back. But yes, the Irish Theater has been doing their festival for First Irish Theater. By the time this episode airs, it would have been over because it was running for majority of this month of January. And so the last one I think is Friday or Saturday. I have to look at the schedule again.
I think so.
I know I want to watch. I want to see the Scourge, which is on Friday. And I've been trying to get into the other ones, and I'm just like, oh no, I don't have the money for it. And I'm just like, it's okay. I'll watch the Scourge. It looks good.
I've got tickets for a showing tomorrow. I think it's called Stay Safe, Stay Home. And it's highlighting the issues surrounding domestic violence within quite the COVID atmosphere. And speaking from personal experience, that's something that I find, of interest, just to see basically how others are coping, really.
Yeah, that's a really big issue. It's I would love to keep talking about it, but it would be its own episode in and of itself.
Yes, definitely. I've got a lot to say about that, specifically about one person being my ex. So that'll stay in a box for another time.
Yeah, it's really tough for people, especially if you're already in a not so great economic standing, or if you are, you're home a whole lot, or you live with family that might be abusive to you or emotionally and mentally. So it's definitely something that needs to be addressed, and I do like that there is a play and that's about that, but I personally probably wouldn't be able to watch it too much.
Is this, do you want me, I'm back. I just wanted to make sure that you guys didn't, are you talking about stay home and stay safe?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Honestly, they're four, if you don't mind me just jumping in, just explaining about it. We've produced them as part of this year's First Irish Theatre Festival, which is something I've been working on for the past couple of months, and it runs until January 31st. Stay Home and Stay Safe were 4 plays, actually, 4 one-act plays commissioned by Origin Theatre Company, with 4 absolutely amazing, brilliant writers, 3 ladies and 1 gentleman. And they're not, they're 3 separate plays, and they all kind of, the theme of domestic violence is something that runs through them. And they're interesting. It's a nice evening of theatre. It's not too heavy either. It's done in a very kind of nice, tasteful kind of a way, you know.
Yeah.
But certainly that's been a massive problem that doesn't get enough focus, I think, throughout the whole pandemic, is this issue of people being told to stay home and isolate, and you know, and a lot of people aren't in very nice kind of personal situations, and it's domestic violence is certainly a horrible thing that's been on the rise since all this began, you know.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the downsides of what we were what Catherine was talking about, is with so many people with varying and assorted economic situations, there are a lot of people that are stuck in abusive situations with no way out. And that, once again, we've turned this into a very depressing conversation, and I'm sorry.
No, you're right. Yeah, there is. It's look, all we can do, especially with art and with culture and theatre and stuff, all we can do is shine a light on these things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know? And again, I think it's important in culture and in art to, you know, to have these conversations, to have these difficult talks, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of going back to what you were saying earlier, Nicola, about Red Dead, you know, it's important. It's because a lot of time people don't realize that what they're consuming is actually a teachable moment, I suppose. So
Yeah.
but I hope you tune in tomorrow to that, Nicola, and enjoy it, because it is.
I will.
It's some wonderful writing and performances as well. Like some of the performers are just fantastic. And again, this was all produced during COVID. Like, so this is all people at home. You know, we can't go to the theatre like, you know, we want to, and enjoy that kind of intimacy and sharing the same space as other people. But it's the next best thing that we have at the moment, you know. And then I've been really thrilled to be able to work on this for the last couple of months. It's actually a theatre festival that's very close to my heart. And it's also a festival that Penny worked in for years. The gentleman who used to run Origin Theatre Company was a tutor of hers at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. So Penny has worked at this festival. And Roger did as well. Myself and Roger did a play in it 3 years ago together. So yeah, that's another nice thing from the interview. Actually, that myself, Roger, and Penny were all in New York around the same time, working in bars and training as actors. Roger actually worked down the street at a little Italian restaurant on 85th Street, which was just down the street from where I worked, a bar called Ryan's Daughter. And we used to have plays on upstairs on the second floor. And Roger and Penny would often come to those plays and do readings up there and everything else.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so we were all kind of connected beforehand. And then it was only because of NDAs, you didn't know who was working on what. And I'll never forget, I was producing a play back in 2014, I think. I was producing this wonderful play called The Last Days of Cleopatra. And Roger actually came and auditioned for it. And we offered him the part. We offered him the part in the play. And he just told me, he said he was actually just starting work on a different project where he wouldn't have the time for it. And yeah, about 2 years later, I remember walking into my first day on the job at Rockstar, and there's Roger in his scuba suit and little dots all over. I'm like, hey, how's it going? He goes, yeah, this is the thing I was telling you about that I was working on. And I wasn't allowed to talk about. But now you're in the gang, so now you know. So I'm like, oh, that's okay. That's all right. Yeah, I think I would have done the same thing, but yeah, big multi-billion-dollar fucking video game as opposed to my little play off Broadway. In the middle of the ice bucket challenge.
Well, art's art, so, and obviously video games are art. I sound like a damn seal. I do.
It's okay. We've all pretty weird noises.
I make weird noises, but I know when I make a weird noise, I hit the mute button on Zoom.
Yeah, it only took you like 3 or 4 times in different meetings to learn that, right?
I think the more that I stream Red Dead on the channel, well, anybody that's ever watched the streams, Catherine, you'll know as well, like how I get on the streams. I just go into my own world, and a friend of mine says, I forgot how weird you can be. I'm thinking, oh yeah, I forget to. But
well, I actually tuned in. I tuned into the channel the other day. I tuned in to watch on, what day was it? Saturday, I think. Did you have something on a Saturday?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was the stream. The Red Dead stream started on Saturday.
Very cool.
Because for like any of the listeners that don't already know, both Kat and I stream. Kat streams on Fridays, and I've started to stream on Saturdays rather than Mondays.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know why I picked Mondays, but I'm going with Saturdays.
Probably
now,
for the same reason we picked Thursday. It was, you want to do this on this day? Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Plus the weekend's coming. You know, you're going to be upbeat for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Tell me why I don't like Mondays. Tell me why. Mondays, yeah. I'm not a fan of Mondays.
I don't think anybody is. But yeah, funny story about the stream though is because I was watching the stream at the same pace that everybody else was, but there's about a 20-second delay. And I only know this because I counted, because I'm that kind of a nerd. And so I was basically just listening to when Nicola would make commentary, and then I would join in, and then obviously it would play out on the screen. And so there was like a good stretch where Nicola didn't say anything. And I was like, I don't remember the cutscene lasting this long. What is she doing? Then I'm just watching. I was like, nope, there's not a cutscene right now. And then she finally goes, sorry, I zoned out.
I do.
And are you doing this on Twitch, Nicola and Kat, yeah?
We do it on YouTube.
Okay.
I don't really know Twitch that well. I'm that sort of person. I'm a bit behind for my generation. I'm a bad millennial, should I say? But no, it's how long have we been doing the streamings, Kat?
We started them last season. About 4 or 5 episodes in.
That's cool.
So we had for both me and you, I think we had about 15 or 14 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I usually just play one episode of a game and then, do something else, do another game, a different episode. And you were doing, you were trying to do Let's Plays. So you did
badly.
You did Dream Daddy, doing Planet Coaster, and you also did Stranded Deep.
Yeah, Stranded Deep. Basically, me as Tom Hanks in Castaway. I would have died.
So you mean real life?
I know. In the game, I was trying to get a coconut from the tree. So I was climbing up the palm tree, and I jumped off, and I broke my leg. And for like half an hour trying to figure out how to heal said broken leg until I think it was Gamer Universe popped on the chat and says, "Oh, press this button and that, and then you'll be able to make this." And I'm thinking, "Thank you, thank you." But no, I'm actually looking forward to streaming Red Dead because I've been wanting to do it for a while. And people will see how emotionally invested I get with the game and how, I just hope I don't bawl my eyes out again this time round.
I hope you do.
I will have an audience.
You get emotional playing Red Dead?
Mm-hmm.
No kidding, it was the first game to make me bawl my eyes out.
Really?
Yeah, I remember I was like on the final chapter, and I remember talking about it to my work colleagues, and they weren't interested at all. But after I finished chapter 6, I came in the next day, and my colleague at the time, Mel, said, "Oh, so did you finish your game?" I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, "Oh, so what happened?" It's like, spoiler alerts, everybody, but the game's been out for 2 years, so you should know by now.
The
But-
following episode may contain spoilers for Red Dead Redemption 2.
And it says, no, the law killed my horse. Hank died, and then Arthur died. And then they're like, going, "Oh,
Mother
it's like,
Hanky!
yeah. I cried." And funnily enough, I remember telling my mum at the time that the game made me cry, and she kind of like gave me this look, and I'm thinking, don't you judge me, mother, because I know that you've got teary-eyed watching Coronation Street and Extreme
Absolutely.
Makeover. So do not judge me.
Something made me cry. Oh, you know what made me cry? I actually teared up. The inauguration last week here in the States.
Mm-hmm.
I was just listening to the young lady, the poet laureate, Miss. Oh man, I'm blanking on her name. She was absolutely amazing. I teared up listening to her poem. And also, what's that?
I'm not gonna lie. I spent a majority of the inauguration. I won't say afraid, because afraid is what they want, but I was cautious.
But yeah, with Amanda Gorman. I thought she just absolutely, that brought me to tears just seeing, and also realizing halfway through her piece that she has re-edited and reworked this to reflect, recent events here. Yeah, I didn't feel that kind of trepidation about it. I kind of trusted, look, this is going to be okay. I know what happened a few weeks ago was absolutely despicable and horrible, but I don't know. There was something about where there was just this feeling of just, it was nice to actually see. It was, I ended up having a bit more, I wouldn't say respect, it's probably the wrong word, but for the ex-vice president, the fact that he was there and he did what he had to do to be there, I thought, okay, well, this is good. They are actually reaching across the aisle and trying to show some sort of unity. But when Kamala raised her hand and took the oath of office, I was sitting there with my darling Jessica, and I was like, I could feel the butterflies. I could feel like, wow, this is a moment of great gravity and importance. And it was just, it was something.
I've always wondered, because somebody I know asked me, is when they're swearing the oath, what is it that they're swearing on? Is it a Bible or is it some other?
It can be anything. It's generally it's a Bible, because it's predominantly a very Christian country. But generally, but if you're Islamic, you can swear on a Quran, and if you're Jewish, you can swear on the
Torah.
On the Torah. Thank you. Oh, my brain is just. I've got COVID farts in my brain. I can't think of anything. Have you guys experienced this with COVID, that like you just seem to be in a fucking fog?
Yeah.
Like
I'm
in one without time. I'm in one without COVID, so
it's mad.
I've always been really bad with time, and that's just part of being the mental illness that I have, is time means very little. But there was a time, especially right there at the very beginning, where one day just bled into the next and bled into the next, and I would go like a whole month and then be like, wait, what month are we in?
Yeah.
Wait, what day is it? And it was gone. It was all gone. All concept of time was just gone.
Yeah, I've had mind fog like this year. Like generally I'm pretty good about remembering things and having conversations. But I was sitting here today doing some work at the table, and I'm online and I'm in the middle of doing some work with the festival and some other things I'm doing. And I clicked to open up a new window on my computer because I wanted to cancel my HBO Max subscription. And I clicked open the window and I was about to type in HBO Max and it just went. I sat here looking at the computer for about 30 seconds going, what are you doing? Like, what's the story? What were you about to do? And then I just kind of did the typical Irish thing where I was like, fuck it, it'll come back to me later. and 10 minutes later, I remembered, I canceled HBO Max. Like, I've never been like that before. It's wild. The first couple of weeks and months of this COVID thing, I think, I know it was horrible and it was very sad, but I treated it a bit like like I was on my school holidays or something.
Mm-hmm.
And funny story, I shouldn't be telling you this because, you know, I don't want people getting a bad image of me. But I have a friend who makes really, really great baked treats, baked goods that makes you feel really, really great.
Yeah.
And in New York, I know they were doing it all over the world, but in New York at 7:00 every evening, we would lean out our front windows and we'd clap and give a bit of a salute to the essential workers, you know, to the people out there in the hospitals and in other industries who still had to go out there and be on the front line. And it was something I look forward to. I would look forward to doing the clap every day, you know. Jesus, yeah, just the one feeling that I have connection with people outside of these four walls. And there was a lady that lived across the street from us. Now, I never met her, never had a conversation with her, but she would come out her window at the same time and she would applaud. And we'd give each other the thumbs up across the street and wave, you know. And it was really, really nice. And it was just a really, really kind of lovely thing to know that people were, you know, there was some solidarity coming out of this. And there was one Sunday where, yeah, I had a little nibble on one of my friend's baked goods. I'm sitting on my sofa. And next thing I just hear like coming up the avenue, just like, yeah, woo, yeah, applause and everything. So I jump up and I out the window. I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. Fucking, we love you. And across the street, the woman, she heard and she opened up her window and she's like waving at me and she's clapping as well. And I'm there for 30 seconds hollering. And I look down the street. I look down the rest of the street. And there's nobody else out applauding. It's just me and this lady. And Jessica came in. She's like, yeah, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm clapping. It's the applause. It's the, you know, yay, we're cheering for the people who are working. And she's like, it's 1:30 in the afternoon, you mad fuck. Yeah, my mind just took over. But the sweet thing about this was the woman across the street still got out and fucking joined in with me. She's like, I thought it was really, really cool and nice. Like, so,
oh, such a special boy.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So needless to say, I'm not a fan of. I stay away from the baked goods now.
Oh my god.
Oh goodness. I would.
The Cameo Gang does not endorse, you know, smoking or eating edibles or anything like that, and showing your appreciation for essential workers at the same time.
In the case over here, clap for the NHS.
Yeah. Are they still doing that in Britain, Nicola? Are they still clapping for the NHS, or?
They stopped a while ago, but apparently it was meant to be coming back. But the era that I lived in, you would hear like scattered noises of people standing at their front door, like, no. That's my impression. No. But
were you on the baked goods?
I don't even smoke tobacco, Jackie. My mom would kill me. It felt like funny little, well, not really funny, but when she was ill, obviously she was losing power in her arms, and I would have to help her smoke because she was still wanting a cigarette. And I remember I said to her one time, like, I was holding the cigarette in my hand like a smoker. And I said to her, you know, I could take a draw out of this and you wouldn't be able to do jack. Just so much she just gave me like the mother look that you get, and Scottish mother as well. So she says you wouldn't dare. And again, yeah, that's one boundary I would not dare cross. Because God forbid if she caught me. Oh, she'd make me smoke a whole packet, and then she'd say, "You're never doing it again."
Yeah.
I couldn't have the little candy matchsticks because I used to mimic cigarettes, so they were banned.
That's right. I remember those little candy, little sweeties, yeah.
My parents never warned me off of like drugs or alcohol. They're just like, please don't. Please don't do it. But if you do it when you're like an adult, okay, that's fine. Just don't do hard stuff. And I was like, okay.
My mom didn't really, well, let me rephrase. My mom was it still is to a degree. She's starting to come around on 420. She's never she's never imbibed, but she is starting to come around to maybe it's not quite as bad as she tried to make me think it was. But my mom was very, very anti-drug, but she was also cool with me smoking cigarettes at 16. I'm lying. And she was also really cool with me like drinking and all this stuff. And it was really funny because this past Christmas, Thanksgiving, I don't remember, it was some holiday, and I was sitting there with my ex-husband. That's a whole different story. We're like best friends. There you go. Long of the short of it. And I was telling stories about how I used to sneak out and go hang out with friends, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm over at so-and-so's house, and I'd be somewhere getting drunk. And I just looked at my mom and said, and I'm only telling you this because I'm 31 and you can't do shit about it. And she reached under that table, grabbed my knee and squeezed. And that's when I went, oh yeah, my mom's a massage therapist. I fucked up. I have fucked up real bad, and I'm not walking after this for a while.
Well, it's gotta be tough. It's gotta be hard for a parent. Like, how do you do that? How do you tell kids not to? My parents were great. My parents were very liberal with us. You know, they never told us that you should or shouldn't do things. You know, they always kind of made sure as well. The one thing they always told us, like, if you ever are in trouble or anything, come to us, which is, I think, the greatest thing a parent can tell their kid, because you're going to get in trouble no matter fucking what. Like, we're all going to get in trouble at some point. And to know that you have a safe place to go, I think, is really, really important. I remember asking my mom once about, I think I asked her who she voted for in an election. And she turned around to me, she said, it's none of your business. And I was like, what do you mean? And she explained to me, she says, like, you're going to grow up to be your own person and all the rest. And she says, I don't need to be influencing you, telling you who I vote for. And I always remember thinking that was a really, really kind of cool lesson. She said to me that her and my dad would have conversations about politics, and they didn't always see eye to eye on it. And I think that's one great lesson my mom taught me was you just do your best, I suppose. I'm not a parent. I'm scared shitless of being a parent. I want to be a dad eventually, but you know, but I don't. It must be kind of hard, you know, telling your kids what's right and wrong. Even I don't know how I would do it. I'd probably just tell them, listen, do what you do, have your experiences, blah blah blah. I'm here for you if you need help. You know, that's it. Because I mean, kids are going to be kids, and they're going to go up and be adults who are going to smoke and do drugs.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know?
For me personally, when my daughter was very young, there was the world seemed very intimidating, and sometimes it still does. But one thing is, kids understand a hell of a lot more than we give them credit for. And especially in the day and age that they are in now with YouTube and a lot of popular influencers. I mean, what was it? It's JoJo Siwa just came out as gay, which applause for her. Like, that's awesome. And I think it's even more awesome that this young influencer came out as gay. So now young gay girls have a role model, and that's awesome to me. But like my daughter, she's 10, and we had an entire conversation about sexuality and gender identity and all of this, and she had a couple of questions, but for the most part she got it. She has friends and she's like, oh yeah, they prefer to be called they. And like, they understand so much more than you give them credit for. And it's like, you do have to protect them to a degree, because there are bad people out there that will do bad things. But at the same time, like you said, you know, kids are going to be kids. They're going to make their own decisions. They're going to go out and get drunk. They're going to go out and smoke. They're going to go out and do whatever. So it's like, I can't stop you from doing this. Just please be smart about it if you do.
Yeah.
I mean, you think back to all the bad decisions that you've made in your childhood and adolescence, and it would make your head spin by thinking, oh, if I went back in time, I would give myself a rattle around the jaw and saying, what are you doing?
I don't know. If I could go back and do it all again, I would. Absolutely.
I would know who to avoid and what not to do.
Nightclubs in Ibiza until 7 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, I'd love to be able to go back and do that. Absolutely.
Man, that's
I probably
like
couldn't. I probably died the minute I walked in there with a massive heart attack or something. But
that's like
that age again and go and just make mistakes, and maybe I'm actually kind of showing a lot of privilege there by saying that, which is a bit of a reflective moment. But yeah.
it's like I always said, I can still party like a rock star, but I sure as fuck can't recover like one.
No, I can't. Since I work for Rockstar, I can't party like a rock star ever again. I'm desperate. I spent most of my life behind a bar as well, working late nights and lots surrounded by alcohol and all sorts of stuff. So since I've given up that area of my life, it's impossible. It's just hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just tough, But
Like-
but yeah, if I wanted to go back to it, oh god, yeah, I'd love to go back and go to a rave one last time.
I remember we were throwing a going away party for my friend that I was talking about earlier that married into the military. And she was leaving to go move in with him. And so we had a huge going away party that involved Captain Morgan 100 proof rum, and I downed that entire bottle. And then that wasn't enough apparently, so I moved on to just regular Captain Morgan. And I remember just laying on the couch, and a friend of mine said, "Why is the rum gone?" And I said, "Because my name fucking drank it all." And I remember I'm very you know what, Mark Mick farted on stream, so it's fine. I just called you Mark because it all just kind of came together. There you go. So he farted on stream. I can tell you this part. I am incredibly pee shy. So if there's people in the room with me, I cannot pee. So in the apartment yeah, you ever want to stop me from peeing, just walk in the room and be like, it just shuts off. And it's very uncomfortable. Please don't do that. But my apartment, everyone was hanging out in the bedroom because it was the biggest space for all of us to sit. But the bathroom was right there, and it was one of those echoey bathrooms, so everyone could hear you when you go to pee. And I just remember sitting there drunk off of my ass. So the world's swaying, or maybe it was just me. I don't know. And I remember sitting there waiting, nothing's happening. And finally I went, "Guys, can one of you sing or something?" And they're like, "What?" I was like, "I can't pee." And they're like, "Okay, 99 bottles of beer on the wall. That's not helping."
I was hanging out at a friend's house and we were playing Rock Band. This was 2010, maybe.
Was that on the Wii?
No, we were playing it on the Xbox. We were playing Rock Band 2.
I had Rock Band Beatles. And I had Rock Band Lego for the Wii back then, and I absolutely loved it. Yeah.
Oh, they're fun games. We would get together on Fridays or Saturdays, and we just Saturday nights after everybody got off work, and we would just hang out, eat food, and play Rock Band. And so they had the bright idea because they didn't have work the next day. I had work, I think, later in the day. So I was like, "Oh, this would be fine." And so they decided to make homemade margaritas, which in one of those big giant jug pitchers. And so they're just "I don't know how to measure the thing, so we're just gonna splash it in and hope for the best." And I was like, "Oh, this tastes like fruit juice." And they're just like, "Yeah, it's our homemade margarita. You like it?" I was like, "Yeah, it's great." And I drank the entire thing.
Oh my God.
Days.
And then I was just I'm fucking zazzed, everyone. And I was just playing Rock Band with them, and I tried to play the drums, and I was just like, "Here, take them. I can't." And then I fell asleep on the couch.
So
I've never been
Work.
I've never been quote unquote plastered. But I do have a funny story in regards to my dad. Now, I can't remember why, but it was he and my best friend's dad were out in the back garden, near enough demolishing an entire bottle of whiskey. And then maybe another one. I'm not too sure about the details, but he was coming up the back steps and he tripped on the final step. And my mum opened the back door, just looked down at him. And there he was, blood going down his elbows like a kid. Whiskey tumblers whiskey tumblers with the whiskey still in it. That was fine. As long as the whiskey was fine. And then my mum looked down the steps, and then there was my friend's dad just grinning like an idiot. Like next morning, my dad woke up thinking, "What the hell have I done to my elbows?" And my mum says, "Oh, do you want to know? Do you want to know? Do you want to know?" And then I think I went, like, next time I saw my friend at school going, "Well, how did your dad recover?" And she says, "Oh, Jesus, don't ask." He passed out asleep in the bathroom and I had to take him to bed. And my mum, our mum was chastising our dad by saying, "Don't you dare throw up. I've just changed the bed. Don't you dare." But yeah.
So Mick,
Yeah, you gotta be careful with the drinking. You know, it's we've all had some pretty tough fecking stories. I know.
I have a good 420 story for you, Mick, since you shared your baked good story.
That might actually have been on 420. You know what I think about it. Might have been.
So I smoked once when I was much younger, and it was okay until like I realized that I have a problem with vertigo and I threw up, and that was not fun. So like the job I had at the time was super, super stressful, and like there's a lot of shit going on. And so a friend of mine was like, "Well, just come over to my house and we'll just chill," right? So I was like, "Okay, cool." So I go to her house. I was nervous about it because, well, who wouldn't be? And we lit up and we passed this. She took stuff and shoved it into, like, she poured all the tobacco out of a cigarette and shoved other stuff into it. And so it was like just a really funny looking cigarette. And she would take a hit, hand it to me, I'd take a hit, and we'd just pass it back and forth. What she didn't tell me at the time was she was pretending to get me just blitzed out of my brain. And so we walk outside and we're just sitting on her front porch, and I'm just staring at the stars, and I'm just like the world is quiet and everything is calm. And then she's like, "Oh man, I gotta pee." And I sat there and I went, "Wait a minute, which way is up?" She's like, "What?" I said, "Which way is up?" She's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" I said, "Where are my feet?" She's like, "Huh? How fucked up are you?" "Bitch, where are my feet? I cannot find up." So yeah, that's my story.
But one thing I really actually loved about Red Dead was the scene where you got drunk with Lenny.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was actually something. Actually, no, that was the moment where I remember showing Jessica, my fiance, that scene. That was what she couldn't get over. She was like, "Oh my God, this game is brilliant." I'm like, people know the game is brilliant. But when you show people who aren't really into gaming and stuff, that one scene where you're actually drunk at the bar and you're getting drunk, that's where they kind of turn around and go, "Oh my God, who thought of this? This is brilliant. This is amazing."
I can't wait to stream that part because that is like one of my favorite parts.
Literally, you'll be streaming after streaming. There you go.
No joke. First time I saw that, I'm thinking, "Oh, we're going there." Okay.
Yeah.
Even more so if you go into one of the back rooms and you see
Lenny.
That's right.
Lenny and Lenny. And then
Lenny
Arthur
getting
just
Lenny'd.
yeah, and Arthur just mortified, just running out, screaming. I'm thinking, "Oh God, oh God."
We've all been.
I've actually done that a few times. I've just gone on the piss in Red Dead sometimes. I just go and get drunk. because I'm not very good at it, so I'll just wander around. I don't want to see the scene where, Sean gets pizza made out of his fucking face. So I just, spend my days just wandering around bars in all these other towns just getting hammered.
I will apologize I will apologize profusely when that part comes up. I'll be thinking, I am so sorry. I am so sorry.
Funny story.
Well, if you don't mind me saying, that scene, what happens to Sean in the game, and I've said this time and time again, I'm actually very proud of that. I think that's a really, really wonderful scene, because you're talking there about how, you do get emotionally invested in the story, in the game. And that, to me, that's kind of like the first sign that you're on that level. You're on that kind of path, I suppose, or track, where you're bringing people emotionally along. And it's shocking. Mm-hmm. Because they did a really good job of making them really shaggy and annoying early on, where you just don't want to be around them. And then you kind of become kind of endeared to them a little bit because of some of the missions you go on and some of the side stuff that you see and being involved in. You kind of learn to really like him and kind of appreciate him.
I think everybody knows at least one Sean Maguire in their life.
That's true. I'm usually the Sean Maguire in everybody's life. Funny story about that, Mick, is actually anyone who's listened to the podcast knows this story from one of our final episodes where I talked about my horse. And of course, everyone knows what happens to your horse at the end. I've already given the spoiler alert. Leave me alone. But
don't look after your horses, Jackie.
It ends up being made into IKEA meatballs or something. What?
Glue. It's glue.
Tesco burgers. Tesco burgers.
Oh my God.
Anyway, so y'all are fucked up. Anyway. So I didn't get to experience the whole heart breaking scene at the very end, because I experienced the heartbreaking scene very early on because my horse died by train. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to replay the game, and I'm going to find one horse. I'm going to take care of this one horse, and that's it. But then we started the podcast, and then I talked to you, Mick, and now I'm in Clemens Point, and I'm like, I can't go any further. I can't. And then every so often I'll wander around, and Sean will walk up and talk to me, and I'm like, hey, I know that guy. I'm stuck here. I can't do it.
That's so funny. Actually, it's really nice and endearing that you're telling me this, because my brother, who lives back in Ireland, he's been playing it recently, and he's telling me how it's strange for him because we live together, and he's my brother. He's one of my best friends. I love him dearly, and it's hard for him to get his head around the fact that his much older brother plays that character. So that's kind of nice. It's kind of neat,
Yeah, when right after we interviewed Howard, we had to go get some stock footage and obviously stuff for the YouTube video that we do. And I remember I was going into camp, and it was like right after everything was done, and I walked up and Strauss said something, and I was like, Howard? Fuck, okay. It's years down the line, we're going to finally have interviewed everyone except for one particular person who ignored me, and I won't forget that. But we're going to interview the entire cast, and I'm just going to be walking around going, these are my friends. I know all of you. I cannot play this game ever again.
Well, Jackie, it would just be your bad luck that he would listen to this episode.
Probably going to... There's a whole gang of us actually have a little kind of a WhatsApp group together. So I might actually, I am going to send this to everyone once it's all packaged in the bag. So they're all going to get to see it. So
good thing I pressed record then. I'm not going to lie. Just double check. Okay. Well, in that case, hi, everybody.
That's the case. I'm going to get the biggest beamer. So, and for those that don't know what the word beamer is, it means embarrassed.
I thought it was the BMW. I thought it was a car.
That's your Scots word of the
buy
day.
A BMW. Yes.
Because technically,
I'm going to have a fucking Beamer.
For fuck's sake! But
For fuck's sake! No, I'm totally fucking on a Beamer right now.
Oh,
That's
good.
more Northern Irish. That's more.
I was gonna say it sounds a bit more
It's
Belfast.
a bit
but
more. All right, there. How's about you there now? I'm a fucking beamer, right?
almost sounds like an old art teacher that I had, Mr. O'Connor. So
Mr. O'Connor, from Ireland. Well, there you go.
yeah.
Well, I'll do my best rap scene Nesbit for you there now. How you doing there, pal? Right, I'm on a beamer right now. Yeah,
I needed
very
subtitles
good.
for part of that.
It sounds
Good attempt. Better than what other people do.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm the third youngest of 4 sisters. So anytime that I tell my sisters that I'm doing something like a commission or this podcast and that we're going to be interviewing this person, and they're just like, who's that? I'm just like, oh, well, it's this kind of person who works on this or like TV or movies or like theater, and they're just like, you're going to be famous. And I'm like, oh, I'm not. So yeah, I have to. They're just like famous. That's what they would send me, just voicemail of that, and all I'm doing is just I'm not doing anything.
It makes me think as well, because I'm reconsidering going back to college again. Again, third time's the charm, I guess. Or
Lucky.
no, in
Third
fact,
time's
no,
lucky.
it's not. It won't be the third time actually. Hopefully, what I do apply for, I actually go through with it and don't drop out again. But if, applying for things, I hate applying for things, whether it's a job or anything. But I'm thinking I would put down the podcast because, yeah, my high school didn't do drama. They only decided to bring in drama onto the curriculum as I was leaving. Bastards. But
I feel that.
I had to sit through 2 years of IT getting ridiculed for my hair by 2 twats in my class. And worse enough, one of them was in my English class as well, so I got grief then too. But
Why? Because your hair is lovely.
I know.
Yeah.
Like I said, he was a twat. I came up with a good few names for him, but
Yeah.
they 2 strong words, and yeah.
And we'd need subtitles.
Yeah.
No, so like Catherine throwing out that she's got siblings and whatnot. I unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess depending on the day, was an only child. So they started with me and they went, we fucked up, and they stopped.
And then they wouldn't let you have drugs.
Exactly. Like
Fuck.
I could have been way cooler, but no. But I do have a 10-year-old, as I've mentioned prior, and I'm like, hey, guess what I'm doing today? And she's like, what? I was like, I'm interviewing Mick, and she goes, oh, okay.
Yeah. Nobody cares.
Like, oh,
Nobody gives a shit.
I'm interviewing Howard. Okay. Like she does not get starstruck. She's just like, okay. And then I posted the picture where we had just finished up an interview with the school board where she had done her student of the year interview, and Kylie said something, and I was like, yeah, Kylie said something to you. She said she really likes your glasses, and she was like, oh, okay.
She's cool.
Yeah, my kid's cooler than me. Like,
I don't think I mentioned her, but my daughter, I don't know, she thinks that I'm very cool, and I'm just like, I'm like the most awkward person ever. I don't know why you think I'm so cool. But anytime that I tell her that I'm doing like a recording or something, she's like, ooh. So she's the opposite of your daughter. She's like, that's cool, mommy. And then she'll tell me, I want to be a veterinarian and I want to be a YouTuber. I want to be like you. And I'm just like,
That's amazing. That's beautiful.
yeah.
That's so cool.
She's a little bit like, oh, hi Moon Pie. I'm sorry. My cat jumped down. But yeah, she kind of like facilitates between or oscillates between like different things, but most of the time it's like I want to do YouTube stuff or I want to work with animals or I want to do both. And I was like, you can do both.
Well, she knows what she wants. That's kind of that's cool. That's nice.
My kid told me she wanted to be a doctor, and I was like, go for it. Yes.
Just do it.
or do whatever you want to do as long as it's safe and you're not going to get hurt doing so, and you're not going to hurt other people.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
That's
Yeah, no, I was lucky. My parents, I was very lucky. They've always been very supportive of the acting thing, and I'm sure it must be a bit disconcerting to parents when their kid comes home and says they want to be an actor, because most people know you're not really going to make a lot of, financially it's a very unstable profession. But yeah, my family have always been very supportive of that. And you just figure it out as you go along. If there's any advice I give to anyone, it's just do it. If you have something you want to say or something you want to do it. I know we talked about it before ourselves, about you guys doing the podcast and everything. It's it's a terrible thing to not put your stuff out there.
I'm actually going to take that opportunity and say something. And hopefully she doesn't mind that I've brought this up. I'm not going to go into details just for her own personal privacy, but Tiffany and I actually, well, all of us, because we have a group chat going, we actually had a discussion about that. And she was talking about, she posted about it on Twitter as well, where she feels like she doesn't really fit into a lot of groups. And she said today in our little group chat that she wishes she had a place where she could just get her voice out there and just, and because she, like me, grew up and are currently living in a very closed-minded society where, we've only got 2 genders and they need to have their own bathrooms and, shit like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I understand that it is very intimidating to do like podcasts and to put your voice out there and all that stuff. It is. It's very intimidating. And especially when suddenly people start liking you and it's like, where the fuck did you all come from? But at the same time, it's also very liberating. And I've spoken about this a little bit before. I was unfortunately part of the upbringing that I did not have supportive parents. So when I said I wanted to be a writer, it was met with, are you sure that's practical? I don't think that's very practical. You need to find a practical job. Like that was the thing that surrounded my life. And so my advice from that point is, if you have a parent that drilled that into your head, the best thing you can do to break out of that is to just be the person you wanted to be as a kid. Put your voice out there. Doesn't matter. Like, fuck what everyone else thinks. And also you can break the cycle. So like with my daughter, she told me she wanted to be an artist and she wants to be a doctor. And I was like, do both. Do both. Be whatever makes you happy. Do both. If you want to be both, then do both. Nothing is stopping you. The world is yours. And that kind of healed part of my inner child that was broken by that. And so that being said, you don't know, you may have the exact thing that somebody needs, and it may be one person, but that one person might need to hear that. And sometimes that one person is you.
Absolutely. If I can add something to that, I think we need to realize as well that like everything that we see through social media, and a lot of from a theater point of view right now, like everything is polished. We need to also kind of like make sure we tell people, like people need to know, like it's okay to do things and to fail as well. It's okay to do things and not be perfect at it. It's okay to do things and put your voice out there and get involved in stuff, and maybe it not be a home run every time. I think my biggest issue with social media, especially social media, is that, there's so much polished work out there. People are putting stuff out. Nobody ever puts out a half-assed job. So, if you're spending your time kind of comparing yourself to all these other people who are putting out, I'm sure you guys must get it. Like you've created this podcast, you've created this little community now that's growing, and people are listening and people are tuning in. And I'm sure people must be coming to you like looking for advice and like, how do you do this and how do you do that? And for you, it's like the same as myself. People ask me, how do I get involved in like being a voice actor? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how to be a voice actor. It's something that I've done all my life. I've performed, I've worked in theaters. I was lucky to get this one part. And if I told you there are hundreds upon hundreds of other parts that I didn't get down through the years, like, you wouldn't believe me. There's stuff on TV that I've been up for and just wasn't the right fit. I think to realize that as well is something that's very important, that it's not all, like every single person out there who's sharing their voice and sharing their stuff, they've got their struggles, and it's not easy either. It's not easy for them, no matter how easy it does look online,
Exactly. Like, and that's the thing is, like, once we put an episode out there, it is polished, it is edited, it is, brought to as close to perfection as we can get. But what people don't see is us quickly texting each other. Okay, so I'm free on this day, and I'm free on this. Well, we can't do it on that day. Okay, well, I'm free on this day. And I mean, like, case in point with what happened recently with my laptop charger, which thankfully it got here in time. But like we actually had this planned for, what was it? Saturday? I don't remember anymore. Days.
Yeah, it was like Friday afternoon. After the live. No, it was Thursday afternoon.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday.
Yeah. Because I was off, and it, like, we had to push everything to the side, and it's like, that it happens. It's life, but people respond to genuine, and that's what a lot of people need now, is genuine. And that's one of the reasons why I'm very open and honest and vocal even about, like, my mental health struggles and things that I've experienced in my past, because especially in my area and my culture, for a lack of a better word, everything was supposed to be kept behind closed doors. So the most powerful thing that I could do personally is speak.
I mean, I always say, like, within myself, essentially, what you see is what you get with me. I'm the same with everybody, really. I'm not one of those people that, like, morphs into different characters depending on who they're around. I've known plenty of people like that. But I mentioned on the stream at the weekend that, I'm playing the game how I play it. I'm taking my time. It's my copy of the game. It's my console. It's my controller. I'm in charge. And I'm not going to tolerate people saying, you're playing it wrong. I'm thinking, well, who are you to tell me that I'm playing it wrong? I'm not playing it wrong. It's you play it how you want to. If you want to, like, rush the story, by all means, do that. But I'm not gonna. I'm gonna, like,
there's a nice metaphor.
I'm gonna meander. It's like I'm gonna meander around, being a bore, looking at all the little things, and I might linger around in camp a lot more because I want to see any potential interactions that I've not seen. Because funnily enough, there's a lot that I still haven't seen in the game.
Do you know what I had a big problem with was and I spent hours on it trying to get over some mountain because it was at the edge of the map, and I just kept falling down the fucking hill again. Yeah. And I just want to see if I get over the mountain. Yeah, in Red Dead. Yeah, it's mad.
You can actually get over those mountains. There's all kinds of animals and horses. Yeah, it's a glitch, but you would have to set your game back to the base 1 update. So that means you would have to uninstall the game. Don't delete your save data, but just uninstall it, and then disconnect your PlayStation or from the internet, and then reinstall the game, and it will be at base 1. And
reinstall it from, like, the original disc, like the very first.
Yeah, from, like, reinstall it from your disc, or if you, well, I don't know if you'd be able to reinstall it if you bought it in the store.
But on the disc, yeah.
Yeah, if you reinstall it from your disc after you've disconnected your PlayStation from the internet, you would be able to access base 1. So that's what people have been doing to get pictures of Arthur in, like, New Austin and stuff like that without getting sniped by the invisible snipers, and how to get past the mountains and how to revisit.
What's over there? What's over the mountains?
It's basically just land. So it's depending on where you are. It could be like grass or it could be snow, and you'll see, like, wolves walking around that won't attack you. Deer.
You can actually find some of their test areas. So basically, like, everything is set up kind of on a grid. And so there's different areas where they're like, you can tell they were trying out new things. Like, okay, here suddenly it's raining. Over here suddenly it's snowing. Over here suddenly it's this. And then over here there's different textures, and sometimes they load in, sometimes they don't. And then suddenly you fall through the map and you end up back in Mexico.
Yeah.
That's fucking mad.
Yeah, and some people have figured out a way by getting into a canoe and just there's videos on it. I don't know if they still work because they're like a few months old and Rockstar's really good about updating their stuff. But there's videos of people getting into canoes and then going up the river over by Ansburg and just going past that little like opening place that if you jump into the river you'll drown automatically. And from there you can get to Guarma. So you can go back to Guarma and you can categorize all the animals that are on there as long as you don't step foot into the water. Because then you will automatically die. And they've found like sharks in the water swimming around Guarma that they didn't notice before. There's like all the animals and things that you've missed. But yeah, you can get back to Guarma, I think, with John. I don't know if you can get back to Guarma as Arthur.
That's absolutely nuts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You have to remind me of an old. You have to remind me of an old story, an old Irish folklore story. It was about the love of Oisin and Niamh, and there was a land in the middle of the Irish Sea, I guess it must have been, called Tir na Nog, which is Irish for land of eternal youth. And yeah, and Oisin ended up going to visit Niamh there because he was in love with her, and he couldn't leave. He couldn't return back to Ireland because if he did, he would turn into an old man. Basically, in Tir na Nog, everyone is young forever and ever and beautiful and hot. Kind of like, I suppose, probably kind of like West Hollywood. And he ends up having to go back because something's going on back in his homeland. And he's given a special horse and a special saddle to ride back to Ireland on. And he gets back there, and of course, he ends up meeting some Irish lads who are pushing rocks up a hill, and he decides to help him. And of course, you know, it's Ireland, so something bad's going to happen. And the stirrup of his saddle breaks, and he falls off, and he hits the ground, and he turns to dust right in front of the guys and dies. And it's a really, really sad story, but it just kind of sounds like there was a fucking Tir na Nog in Red Dead Redemption 2.
Basically, yeah.
That's mad. Imagine getting stoned on some of those baked goods. Discovering that for the first time. Like fucking in your canoe. Oh man. Jesus, I have to call my friend.
I wonder if anybody's played Delaney and Arthur getting pissed in Valentine whilst pissed.
I have. Yeah, I did. I think the first time I actually played that scene, I think I was drunk. I was probably fucking hammered, yeah. Yeah. I didn't know it was coming. I was like, what the hell's wrong? And yeah. Really,
why are they doing the can? But
yeah, it's like, why can't I walk properly by pressing up on the left joystick? Yeah.
Why is Lenny everywhere? But
Lenny is so hot in those heels. I have to say, I have a special place in my heart for Lenny. I love Haran Atkins very much. He was an absolutely beautiful actor. And anytime we worked together on some scenes, he was just the most open, lovely fella to work with. And yeah, I've actually got a little soft spot for Lenny out of all the characters. There's one scene where he's like, I'm not giving up on you, Sean, where he's trying to teach me how to read. And just so, you know.
I literally just saw that one on one of my older saves, and I'm thinking, oh, I don't know if I've ever caught that save before, but
yeah, it's a beautiful scene.
You know what's really funny is there was one time I was in camp. I actually got video footage of this one because I was like, I'm never going to see this again. And I'm pretty sure there's a whole bunch of people that have never seen it. There's a little hidden dialogue that if you wait until like right after dinner time, Molly and Dutch will be sitting in their tent, and all of a sudden you'll see Dutch kind of lean over to the side, and you'll hear, and then he'll kind of like wave it away, and then go, my stomach's a little sour. And I laughed so hard, and I was like, but then I started thinking of them like sitting there in their scuba suits with the ping pong balls, and I'm like, that must have been a very awkward day on set.
That was like fun. Can you excuse me? I'm going to run out for like 30 seconds again. I'm sorry about this. So sorry. I've got TB. In Ireland, TB is tiny bladder. And I'm just going to, and I'm going to turn off so you don't hear anything. Like, or tinkle, tinkle, tinkle. Back in a sec. Sean McGuire just has to fuck off there for a little piss. All right. Sorry, but I'm just going to go behind the trees there, folks, and have a little pee behind the trees. All right, see, I can't pee when people are in the fucking room. What do you think of that, Arthur? Arthur Morgan, I'm going for the piss behind the tree. Back in a second.
Oh gosh. So I realized, did we ever set a timer?
We did. It went off forever ago, and I just kind of kept resetting it. Like
We usually do that, don't we?
pretty much. When Mick's on, hell yeah.
We don't play by the rules.
We don't.
We make our own rules. We're a business now.
Oh yeah, that's right. We didn't say it. We didn't. I don't think we recorded it when I told you guys. So,
Nope.
like on the first episode, I had said that we had registered as a business. When we had recorded it, that was the week that I did it. So that was January the 14th, around there or so. And then when I just received an email today that talked about how they had accepted it in the state that I live in. So I was like, awesome, great, this is amazing. And I wanted to let you guys know, but I wanted it to be a surprise. But I wasn't sure if I should like tell it when we were recording like this, so then I could get your guys' reactions, or just kind of like, oh, we'll just go ahead and just fucking say it now. So yeah, so we they accepted it. So yeah, we're a business, and I sent the information they gave me to the bank, and now I'm just waiting to hear back if that's what they needed, and if it is, then awesome, we can start doing sponsorships and start doing like charitable donation stuff. Like we can be a part of the charity things to or like doing ads at the beginning. Like I think one of the things I was like, you got hair everywhere? Try some Nair. And then after I don't know.
Do they still make Nair? Is Nair still a thing?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Is it, yeah?
It is, but I don't know, it just doesn't feel like it works.
It smells like mayonnaise. At least I think it does.
No, I don't think it's
Nair.
What kind of fucking mayonnaise do you have in Scotland?
It smells like
We have Hellman's, actually.
it smells like antiseptic. I don't what. It smells like mayonnaise.
Yeah, I think it smells like mayonnaise.
For
Oh,
some really
God.
weird reason, Catherine's cat is cleaning itself in the background, and I think it's really funny.
Are you watching it too?
Yes.
Oh, she got into the Nair, did she? Oh, Jesus. You're going to have a baldy cat.
Oh, goodness.
Cat's going to be bald. Oh, listen, I did not fucking mean that. I didn't. Don't even. I know exactly where your head's going right there, Jackie.
No.
Yeah, teach me, Daddy. Yeah, I know where your head's gone.
I didn't realize it.
I didn't mean that. I swear to God.
I'm just laughing because everybody else is that it's went right over my head. So that's just that's just how I am.
Oh, you sweet child. Oh,
You sweet, innocent thing.
you babe.
I had a work colleague called William, and he said to me, "Oh yeah, butter wouldn't melt with you, would it? No, it'd fucking burn." But
Oh, Jesus.
Well, as fun as this has been, and it has been a lot of fun, Mick, you need to stop being such a stranger. You need to come on our shows. You make it a hell of a lot
I
more
love
fun.
coming on the show, and I love seeing everything that you guys are doing. I absolutely adore it. And yeah, let's try and get as many of the rest of the gang to come on as well and have a little chat with you guys.
You know, if you have better luck than I do, have at it.
It's
Question.
yeah, no, it's it'll be great to see a few more people come and check it out. But no, but thanks for having me on today, guys. I just really enjoyed chatting with you.
Absolutely.
Thanks for it's been a bit of crack, and
Yeah.
and if you can try to consume a bit more of the First Irish Festival before it's gone away forever until next year, that'll be cool. It's and anyone who's listening, I'm not sure if you'll get this episode out by the time it's over. The festival runs until January 31st. But even so, if you check out www.origintheatre.org, you can see some of the great stuff that's going on there. I'd urge everyone to also check out www.irishrep.org, which is a wonderful theatre here in New York, who actually have evolved into doing online theatre in the last year. And this all provides a little bit of work for many actors. A lot of actors actually who were involved in Red Dead Redemption 2. There were thousands of actors involved in Red Dead Redemption 2, and all those people, for the most part, are currently out of work because of the pandemic. So, just next time you boot up your PS4 or your Xbox or whatever it is, and you're enjoying hanging out around Valentine, just remember most of the people who worked on all this are, they're in the same predicament that a lot of other people find themselves in now, being out of work and stuff. So, one great way to support is to reach out and just support local theatre anywhere you can. Share it. And if you're interested in being a voice actor with Rockstar Video Games, look up your local theatre company and go volunteer and get involved. It's a good step. It's a good step in the right direction.
There you go. And then, of course, there's always things like Cameo. There's sharing things, getting the word out there. Like, we understand that we've talked about this before, but we understand not everyone can financially donate things, but sometimes just sharing it and getting the word out there to someone who is capable. Word of mouth is a very, very powerful tool. And
a click and a share. A click and a share is all it takes. I know myself, a lot of the gang members are involved in projects right now that are all online, and even, whether it might be something that might interest you or not, it's still just being able to share it is really, really helps.
Yeah.
Yep.
But with that being said, I think we will say goodnight to you, Mick, and thank you again so much for joining us, and we look forward to having you again.
It's my absolute pleasure, guys. Thank you.
It was no problem. We're just really happy that you like talking to us.
No, I love talking to you guys. It's my favorite thing in the world is to talk about acting and to talk about especially Red Dead. Red Dead has actually given me so much joy in my life these last few years. I get asked all the time, like, what my biggest people ask me all the time, like, what's the most surprising thing? What do you enjoy most about it? And it's definitely being able to interact with the fans, and the fact that the Red Dead community is just so nice and good to each other. That gives me more pleasure than I can even express.
I think that's really funny because that's our favorite thing about this is being able to interact with our number one fan. So
there you go. It's a two-way street.
All right. Well, with that being said, see you all next week.
Bye, everyone.
Cheerio.
Bye.
Outlaws for life.
Lenny!
Good.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Around the Campfire. We'd also like to thank Brett Van Dossel for providing the music. You can find him and his music at brettvandossel.com. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at CameoGang1899. We're also on Instagram at Around the Campfire 1899. You can find us on YouTube at Around the Campfire Podcast. See you around, cowfolks.